My name is Derren Joseph. I attended University of Aberdeen a long time ago. I don't remember when. I'll have to check my LinkedIn. But I work primarily in Asia. I am a partner in a tax practice.
Thank you very much. And could you please walk us a little bit through your educational background? You've studied at many different universities before.
Mm. Okay. So yeah, I mean, I was born in London, in South London. Both my
Hmm.
parents are from Trinidad and the Caribbean, and I was always intellectually curious, I guess.
Hmm.
Um, so my intention early on in my career was to pursue a career in academia. I wanted to be a professor.
Yeah.
And so when I was doing a PhD at Aberdeen, I was also working as a research assistant
Hmm.
to Professors Bill Slee and Professor Ken Thompson, neither of whom are with the university. They've both since retired. It's been a
Hmm.
while. Um, uh, During that stint, I got a real taste for university life, and I decided, you know what, it wasn't for me. So I
Hmm.
decided to return to industry afterwards. So I guess that's why I've done quite a few. I've done
Hmm.
two master's degrees. I've done various courses and stuff like that in preparation for academia. But then I changed tack and returned to
Yeah.
industry.
Interesting. Thank you very much. And what attracted you to University of Aberdeen?
Hmm. What attracted me? I applied when I wanted to do a PhD in economics. I applied to a number of universities across the UK, and I was invited to 10 interviews, three or four of them.
Hmm.
And what I remember is visiting Aberdeen during the winter, and I took the train up from London, and the view from the train
Hmm.
of the white powder snow heading, just going straight to the coastline.
Hmm.
It was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. So I was just captivated
Wow.
by the landscape,
Hmm.
the history, just the energy of the campus and
Yeah.
Aberdeen as a city as well. So that's what sweeted for me.
Thank you. And what are some of your favorite memories from being in Aberdeen?
Hmm. I have always enjoyed being close to the coastline. So
Yeah.
because my three primary homes, I guess, growing up would be the UK, and then my parents split up. My dad moved to South Florida, so
Hmm.
being in South Florida, close to Miami, East Fort Lauderdale, so the beach, and then Trinidad as well. It's a
Yeah.
tropical island,
Hmm.
so the most uh enjoyable thing for me, to be honest, was the proximity to the ocean and walking along the boardwalk.
Hmm.
Even though it's windy and cold and rainy and unpleasant, it still has great energy and beauty for me.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And you built a global career in international tax advisor. How did your career path evolve over the time?
Well, I worked in finance all my adult life. My
Hmm.
father he qualified as a chartered accountant in London, 1970s, and then he eventually moved to the US and he did the CPA exam and when he moved to Florida. So that was what I'd seen. I worked in um, basically accounting at
Hmm.
first, and that gave me a perspective on the from the perspective of the small companies.
Hmm.
And being intellectually curious, I wanted to understand the macro level, like how I understand, okay, I could see small companies and industries, but how do they work together
Hmm.
and drive an economy forward? And I was especially curious as to why certain countries or certain economies were economically successful and certain economies and jurisdictions were less successful. And the pursuit of economics was the promise of answering that question.
Hmm.
So that's what led me to economics. And at that point in time, I was curious about going into um, academia, as I mentioned earlier.
Hmm.
But now that since I'd returned to industry, I think it's given me a unique perspective because uh, I've worked in different parts of the world,
Mm-hmm.
and not just expanding our practice. We're primarily based in Southeast Asia in Singapore, but we also have affiliated offices in Dubai, in Madagascar, and Portugal, where we service Southern Europe, so Spain and France and
Mm-hmm.
Portugal, and then of course in London.
Yeah.
So it was helpful, but it's also helpful in working with clients from a business perspective. So going to the expanding our advisory beyond just taxation, but when
Mm-hmm.
we talk about market entry, competitiveness, certain trends, certain opportunities they can look at, so we can add greater value to what our clients are trying to achieve. So I think um, what started off as intellectual curiosity has definitely helped me build a better practice.
Thank you very much. That's very impressive. And what are your responsibilities at your current role, and what does your typical day looks like?
Hmm. So we work with private clients who are exposed to more than one jurisdiction. So
Mm-hmm.
families who are earning money in more than one place, so they have a fiscal or a tax responsibility to be
Yeah.
compliant in more than one jurisdiction, right? So most of our clients are US exposed. So it'll be US, UK, US, Singapore, US, Dubai,
Mm-hmm.
and so on. So on a day-to-day basis, we help clients with advisory and compliance.
Mm-hmm.
Advisory being, I don't know, so I had a client last night who was a family that moved to Uruguay,
Mm-hmm.
and they were setting up a company in Uruguay to connect with their business in the
Mm-hmm.
US. And how do you optimize? How do you not just be compliant, but make sure you don't pay more than your fair share of taxes? So we help with that tax optimization and business structuring. And
Mm-hmm.
then on the tail end, we help with compliance. So actually doing returns in the
Yeah.
US and the UK and so on. So mostly compliance, but the most active and interesting and growing part of our practice is the advisory side.
Interesting. Very interesting. And what would be your advice for students who are looking to get into the tax advisory? What should they focus on while they're still at university, and how to, I guess, get in, how to get this first job in the industry?
Huh. I think maybe a cliche, but curiosity. We need to
Mm-hmm.
have a capacity to learn, to be autodidactic.
Mm-hmm.
The learning process doesn't stop at university, it starts at the university. And not everyone, which is part of the challenge, right? Not everyone is able to teach themselves because in what we do, the laws change every year or sometimes multiple times per year, depending on what jurisdictions you're playing in.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to stay on top of that. You need to teach yourself. You need to read. You need to keep it on top of case law, what's going on in the courts and common law jurisdictions. So you constantly must be teaching yourself. You need to be autodidactic. You need to see the education process as a lifelong endeavor.
Mm-hmm. That's a great advice.
Yeah.
And what would you say
Mhm.
was the proudest moment or a project you worked on in your career?
Hmm. I think my proudest moments are actually being able to give back. And I'm not
Mm-hmm.
just saying that, but it does feel good. So I'm involved in mentoring, of course, with the university. So I mentor students. And I'm also part of the of an advisory committee that works with the
Mm-hmm.
Mayor of London. And so the Mayor of London, of the City of London,
Yeah.
they do a lot of traveling to promote the UK in general and the city in particular. So we there's a briefing group that helps him or her understand the tax
Mm-hmm.
dynamics of the jurisdictions that they are planning to travel to, or just to help benchmark UK competitiveness of,
Mm-hmm.
against other jurisdictions. So being a part of those opportunities to give back is what I find quite rewarding. Yeah.
Interesting. And how do you find all these emerging technologies like AI changing your industry?
Of course, that is a buzzword right now. Everything is AI, and I'm involved in some AI companies. But I think to answer your question specifically, it will be revolutionary, perhaps not in the timescales that we imagine. It
Hmm.
reminds me of the late 20th century, the early 2000s, when there was a lot of buzz about dot coms and the internet and it was going to change the world. It actually did. Now, one can't imagine running any
Hmm.
sort of business or life in
Yeah.
general without the internet. But we thought it would come sooner than it did.
Hmm.
And so some people jumped the gun a bit. And I think that's where we are at AI. I think it's clear that it will have the impact that we estimate that it would have,
Hmm.
but it may just take some time. In terms of what we do, a lot of what we do is going to be extinct in the next 5 to 10 years. Particularly on the compliance side, no one is going to come to us
Hmm.
for that. That once you have access to the right tools, you'll be able to do it yourself. The advisory side, though, I think on the advisory side, to the extent that practitioners can partner with AI, not compete with it,
Hmm.
but partner with AI, and it will enable us to provide a higher level of service. So I think the AI, in terms of those in consulting or basically knowledge merchants, which is what we are, the AI will be a great companion,
Hmm.
not competition.
Thank you. That's very interesting. Thank you. And
Mhm.
are there any books or podcasts you would recommend for our students? It could be something career or non-career related at all.
It really depends on what you're into.
Hmm.
And that's the beauty of the world in which we live right now.
Hmm.
We we have the sum total of human knowledge at our fingertips. So
Hmm.
if you're into tax, like we are, and we do a podcast, we do a video every day, and we
Hmm.
release it at HTJ.tax if you do
Hmm.
HTJ.tax on YouTube or on our website. And we publish content for those who are into international tax, cross-border stuff. Um, but if you know, to answer that, it really depends on what you're into. Or do you see the future as being China, the China focused podcast? Are you interested in what's going on in Southern Cone in Latin America, or Africa, or in Southeast Asia? Whatever you're looking for, you're gonna find it.
Thank you. And the last two questions. A lot of students are struggling with stress due to academia or personal things. What would be your advice how to deal with stress?
I see it as training
Hmm.
because life is stressful. And if it is that you want to do well and to maximize your potential in whatever your field of endeavor is, stress is part of the package. You can't have accomplishments without stress.
Hmm.
So my advice is to, just handle it. Just find a way to cope with it. It's not going to go away. We need to become comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's the way business works.
That's a great advice. Thank you. And the last question is,
Mm.
what advice would you give to your younger self?
Um, Gosh, that is a good question. I'd say remember that the world is your oyster. I started off, like most people, in my comfort zone. I spent most of my early career between the UK, the US, and the Caribbean. I It would have been interesting if I started exploring and doing business in other parts of the world earlier. For
Hmm.
example, Asia, the Middle East, continental Europe, and Africa. I'm doing it now, but had I done it earlier, that could have been made. That could make for an interesting permutation and what I've achieved today. So I'd say, yeah, the world is your oyster.